So after a little break, we will again continue our teachings on the practices of a bodhisattva. So the main thing we've been discussing is how to meditate, cultivate bodhicitta, the precious mind of enlightenment, with relative bodhicitta and ultimate bodhicitta. So we've discussed relative bodhicitta, the trainings, the precepts in developing and cultivating relative bodhicitta, and how to take various situations on the path of training in relative bodhicitta. And then discussing likewise in accord with those trainings, the practices, the meditations on ultimate bodhicitta, training in the ultimate ultimate precious mind of enlightenment, and also how to take all the situations onto the path in relation to cultivating ultimate bodhicitta. So again, the primary thing we're discussing, focusing on, is the trainings or the precepts of practicing bodhicitta and developing one's bodhicitta. So our last class we focused on ultimate bodhicitta, training in ultimate bodhicitta in a meditation session, namely training in the meditative equipoise of freedom from all mental elaboration, trijja, the meditation of trijja, the meditation resting in equipoise, resting in the state free from all conceptual contrivance, mental contrivance. So meditating in that way, then arising from that state of meditation, entering into the states of post-meditation, where various thoughts arise. Thoughts arise, conceptual fixations related to attachment and aversion and so forth arise. So in those contexts, in the context of post-meditation, how is it that we are to train or cultivate ultimate bodhicitta? So that seems that that will be our main topic for this evening, is the post-meditative trainings in ultimate bodhicitta. So again, thinking, may all sentient beings as vast in number as the sky is vast attain the level of complete enlightenment, the stage of Buddhahood. And for that purpose, we will take that as our motivation, our intention for receiving these teachings, listening to these teachings. And then in particular, thinking that throughout our lives, in whatever activities we find ourselves, whatever work it is we're engaging in, whatever situation we're in, whatever it is we're doing, that we need to take these teachings into our experience and make them our spiritual practice in whatever situation we find ourselves. So giving rise to that is our intention for receiving these teachings, coupled with this commitment to take these teachings into practice, give rise to bodhicitta, the supreme of all intentions. So first, from the root text itself, verse 23, following along. When you encounter objects that please your mind, know they are like rainbows in the summer season. Though they seem beautiful, to see they are not real and to give up attachment to them is the practice of a bodhisattva. When you encounter objects that please your mind, pleasing objects, something that is delightful, that we like, that pleases our mind, referring to the objects of our senses, form, pleasing forms to the eyes, pleasing sounds to the ear, pleasing taste to the tongue, pleasing textures to our tangible sense faculty. So namely here referring to the various different objects that can arise to our six sense faculties. Form, sound, and so forth, and so on and so forth. The variety of different objects that can be pleasing to the mind.
다 ngaran zo ge yor de tni ngaran zo ge ta wang bo de ge pa dai yong de ne ta ngaran zo ge yang chi ta le dang so su ge ji ne pa kya yang na wo ye chi rak yor de la ne ka shi la ye dong wa de tong de la cha gua jie ka shi la ye dong mo gua jie 대하나 때는 제가 말아서 뭐가 왔지. 근데서 차이가 왔어.
So a great variety of objects that appear to the senses. When our senses take hold of them, look, perceive these objects based on our own karma, karmic predilections and habitual imprints within our own mind stream. Then and our own individual ways of thinking and perceiving things. Then some things appear, and they appear in ways that we like, that delight us, that are pleasing to our mind. And those things we give rise to attachment towards, clinging towards. And then other things, objects appear to our mind through our senses, and we do not like those things, and aversion arises to those.
다 딘나니 요 인동 왔습니다. 다 가서 매용인데 왜는 다 가서 정말 매용해로 와. 이나양 다 가서 왜는 가서 매되게 미라서 왔다 가서 이제 통용나 그러와. 가르치는다 가시적인 미대 통나 이동 같은 거와. 가시기 이동 같은 거와. 가시 현로요래, 가시 공토랑로요래, 가시 차로요래, 가시 당로요래, 가르치는데 자고요래서.
So now we're talking about objects that we encounter that please our mind. So for objects that we see, something or someone that we see, so through the faculty of our eye faculty, we see something or someone. So all of us here can see. So say someone comes in, we all see someone. We have different perceptions of that person. We can see the same person. Some individuals will see a person and immediately they're happy. That's pleasing to them. Others, they see the same person and there's negativity that arises. They don't like that object that they're seeing. You see some person, and attachment, passion towards that person arises. Clinging towards that person arises. For others, anger and aversion arises. So what's that all about? The same person is there, and different, very different perceptions of them arise.
이내양 다 가정성 때는 조대 지바지연이 내가 조 지바될 때는 내가 가서 차가요 그래서 봐. 이내양 차도 이제 강사적이에요. 다양 봐. 내가 다 코페트에서 조 지바되요나 코 차미도 코 미세 코로나로 와. 가르에서는 코드니 차도 여발되니 지바 임발되니 다 얘도 많이 통고하나 다 그래서 지마 휴지 여하지야 다 때는 미스 돈에 되니 그래서 차로 보고 와 근데 내가 와 야 가시기 때라 지바 여발되나 야 코페트에서 배 미가 차지 닝서 알아잡으러 오더니 잘 왔어.
So we have one individual that maybe the consensus in the room is that they're quite, beautiful, handsome, well-formed, literally, of a delightful form. So even if we can accept they're like of a beautiful form, they have a beautiful body or figure or whatever, then for some, oh, they're beautiful, then immediately some sort of attachment, clinging arises towards that. But that won't be the case for everyone, even if people are perceiving in the same way that, oh, that's a beautiful person. For some people, that seeing that beautiful person may immediately give rise to negativity in their mind, deep jealousy, resentment towards that person. So for some people, oh, they're beautiful, that's lovely, I'm so attached to that, and others, oh, they're so good looking, terribly jealous. So again, a single person that's even being perceived in a somewhat similar way, objectively, oh, they're handsome, they're good looking, still can elicit an opposite response within two different individuals' minds. There's like a story kind of about this, relates to this meaning from the old land, Rinpoche area in Tibet. There's one like a grandmother, elderly lady, and her granddaughter was out. Her granddaughter was around, and so anyway, a guest showed up at their house, and the granddaughter. Some man shows up, the guest is there, and so as is the custom, you take them tea, So the granddaughter takes a glass of tea to the guest. The guest sees the cup, the mug, and it's extremely dirty. It's filthy. I don't know, stinky maybe, it's just a dirty mug. And the guest says, no, I don't need tea, that's okay. And the granddaughter says, no, please have some tea. He's like, no, thanks. And then finally it kind of comes out, it's very dirty, that mug. And the granddaughter's quite young, and she says, no, it isn't. It's really clean, because it's my grandmother's mug. Anyway, point being that, because it's grandmother's mug, it's clean, nice, the best mug in the house. She didn't have this, ideation at all that it could be dirty. It's grandmother's clean mug. Anyway.
That's the one. Any time around the penna, any meeting that, Jenjik. Oh, thank God. Me, Yako. In Ramaji and Sangaji. Young me and I did that. Dokya, Drawo. And Miss Patton, Senman, Magake. This child was. Me chipa. Me chipa,この時計がならんべんでして人間がならんぞべんでしてたあばまのこれのペンすぐちえね人生はいやこ 대리직 받자서 쌍 잡아라지 통. 양 자대 때는 양 얘네 통을 빼. 미 독자. 아니 지금 말하는 거 말아 냐봐. 그래서 통이는 미라고 잘 놓았어.
Another example, take one person, and one person in our life that we love very much. We're extremely close to them, a good friend or parents or family member. That from us, that one person we perceive in this way as being a wonderful, lovely person that we love from the depth of our heart. They're a good, kind human being. But that same person to their enemies, someone that doesn't like them, is perceived completely differently. That same person is perceived to be terrible conduct and behavior, evil, bad, negative person, even though the person themselves is the same.
아야, 이니 내지 인상 딱 되는 거는 좀 이내야 딱 소소 때나 되니 말한 거 통할 때 대발에 뭐니래 대발에 되는 거 봐. 이내 뭐니 지나다 대발이나 이니 제 연구를 봐도 대발인데 가서 저기 약 보통 저기 독자 통나 이때네 양보 내가 잡았어요.
That being the case, every individual thinks their perceptions are true, are accurate, are right. Whatever it is I see is the real picture, is true, is how it actually is. But this can't be right. If that were the case, if your individual given perception were the true perception, was true in that way, then it would have to be seen that way by everyone. It would have to only be one way for everyone. But that's definitely not the case. I see them as good, you see them as bad. So then it can't be said to be definitively true that they're good.
양의 요르집 가서 요 이동 왔으면 좋아. 요럴 때라 인계고 야보성인데 아니 참참할 때는 말하는 다 더럽게 소리 되네요. 미라고 요르고도 롱바트 소리 되네요. 미라고 요르고도 지과라고 믿었어.
And a thing that's considered good or excellent, a beautiful, good quality thing, a nice thing, that which we call, high quality good, really is quite malleable. Change is given on a given time, given generation, changes on a given country or place that you're in.
얘네 다 말하는 소배는 얘네 다 맞서 배는 나랑 다 중종 가서 찾아 와서 보는 거예요 봐. 와서 보는 거 있어서요. 얘네 밑에서 망치와 감문을 나보여 그래. 뭔가 나보. 얘네 망치와 내가 망치는 감보여 그래. 제가 거기서 나보다 감보이나 때서 보면라고 이나 남바 매반 없지래. 나보 감보스. 에서 감보 자과요. 감보니 요는. 감보 자과스.
Nhưng 감보 자과인. For me, growing up, where I grew up in Tibet, when I was small in Tibet, young in Tibet, everyone was really dark, kind of black skinned, and everybody worked really hard, and you'd work really hard and you'd be skinny. So everyone was skinny and dark. So if the ladies were skinny and dark, it was kind of pejorative to say, the skinny black girl. Really, we wanted a little fat and white. Oh, if only they were fat and white. Then they'd be so beautiful.
그냥 나 가서야 아메리카에서야 깜부 나고 그냥 얘기 붙이러 왔어.
But America, skinny and dark, tan, you know, then that's good.
되니? 맞아, 엄마 때문에 당황하고 시험 아메리카 다 못 쓰는 데 없어. 저한테 때서 캄보디아에서 가지 않고 나서 온다고 내려. 엄마 여한테 땡겨요 라고도 가래나. 나서서 딱고 나서 얘기해라고 싸움이 깨자로. 야, 저랑 캄보디아야. 재밌지? 가서 캄보디아 나보자 좀 보려고 했는데. 캄보디아야 나서 땡겨요.
근데 기아과차.
기아과차도 깜짝.
It's really quite confusing for Rinpoche when he first came to America. You'd see someone and see him again later and say, "Oh, you've gotten so skinny." And they'd say, "Oh, thank you, thank you." And I'd say, "No, are you sick? What's wrong?" It was really quite confusing at first. "Oh, you got so skinny. You're sick. What happened?" "No, thank you, thank you."
얘네 다 깨기는 등산 봐봐서 다 지대를 해줘서 커서 나와 열어 그래요. 찍고 잘 왔어. 근데 다 이렇게 인도 스타트도 찍고 와. 얘네 열 때라스 얘네 말하는 소고 빼는 제스를 얘네 대송도 와. 얘네 더 앞에는 얘네 제발 나오양 다 열 때는 이게도 와야 보지 나오양. 대나 덴버 못 왔어 와. 더더 덴바를 말하는 쪽그 덴바에 쌈 마성 그게 말해. 더나 덴바지 내바지 통들고. 더나 덴바지 요는 상위 찍과 통고로 와. 이게 통하면 와. 얘도 온화지는 상위 찍과 통 용 거로 와. 이게 용하면 와. 대된 그라랑 그때 덴바 매비 땅시 잡아요. 더나 말하는 쪽 대나이 가다 말하는 쪽에 얘도 온화돼요. 다 봐봐. 졸아지.
But I don't know, these days I think the Tibetan perspective too is kind of changing, becoming more global, connections to outside Western culture. Probably changing by now. So now, when you encounter objects that please your mind. So when encountering something that for you is in that moment, truly appearing as something delightful that pleases your mind. In that temporary sense, it's something that's truly pleasing for you. Not to say in any way that it's truly existent as being a pleasing or delightful thing, as we discussed, because if that were the case, then it would have to be perceived in the same way by everyone. So it's not, so we can just brush that aside, but just something appearing that's delightful for you in that moment. Then to, of course, not perceive it as being truly existent as a beautiful, delightful thing. Then also to recognize that it is its impermanent nature, its malleable nature, that it's transient in its very essence.
Then, 가장 되는 나라는 게 뭐고 동원하고 다 빼는 세방하는 이유는 빼는 제시 예도와 얘는 빼는 경 휴지 통과돼 야 되게 지기 오라지 통 야 예도 뭐게 랑서 빼는 세바지 통나야 되는지 뭐가 상관 뭐가 오늘 그냥 망고 영어로 도
For example, yesterday your friend or your girlfriend or boyfriend or something. One day they're extraordinarily gorgeous and perfect, and just to think of them, you're so happy, excited, pleases the mind. They're beautiful, perfect, love of your heart, and then some negative circumstance arises. Something goes wrong, amiss, and then completely change. They're no longer so beautiful, exquisite, pleasing to the mind. They're quite the opposite. Just to catch a mere glimpse of them is very upsetting. So like that.
대내성상 되네. 랑잉게 직 나라서 갔다. 대탐치 내말 맞아버렸어. 그래봐. 내말 맞아봐. 배는 되네. 줘서 줘봐지. 맞아봐. 그 맞아보자. 대답지게 되네. 당본에 되네 직 나라서 그 지된들라. 되네. 딱대 매바지 양 쉐대요.
Top 10 never.
따고도 땜바 매바. 쉐거요나? 되네요. 람상게 나라서 그 직에네 강해지 되나? 양 용자당. 동화대요. 양 제가 요거 말해.
Because things, any objective appearance, phenomena, is not truly established by its very nature. It's transient, malleable, impermanent. So when experiencing something like that, from the outset, understanding, knowing that it's not something stable, not something lasting, not something permanent in any way, then when it does change, when some negative circumstance arises, condition arises connected to that, then it won't become such a major issue, a major problem.
Tene ngaran zoga eni pena tati ngaso chipuje ma. Ata pena jise ngaran zoga eni chalo rawo chele cha yawa yena. Eni jakap yena yandra. Mimang ba karso pombo yena yandra. Nangmi yena yandra. Ngaso shipra kitena. Tene tsama ngaran zo karisa. Tene ko geji minra wachi churro yore. Agora, não qualquer se ele já tem muito de tempo eu mare, nem tem muito de tempo eu mare, toda tem muito de tempo eu mare, mas não até nem mare lá, tem sangue na pita do chiguare,
tem sangue na pita
do, nada é agora, nada do gacha, nada traumacha, nada sabocha, nada chiguare samdo caso lá, sangue nem a traumacha, trauma. Ada doar também anda, né? Nossa, Jorge de quase.
Not only our immediate relationships, but everywhere we look, things are transient, malleable like this. In the external world and society, countries changing, borders changing, ministers changing, Buddhists changing, non-Buddhists changing. Everything's changing constantly. Situations, status, all of this is in constant flux. And in our personal situations, those that are enemies become friends, and those that we're close to, it's never stable. It's completely unstable and changing all the time, just like the weather these days. The weather, it's snowing, and now it's warm, it's hot one day, cold the next. We're happy in one moment, and some little situation, circumstance arises, and immediately that happiness, that state of well-being is gone. Transient, malleable. Everything's in flux like that. So perceiving objects of our attachment and aversion as being independently existent, stably existent as they are, then to that degree we are negative states of mind are increased, however much we're affixed to perceiving things that lead to the arising of our happy moments and suffering moments, things that we like, things that we don't like, as being truly existent, stable as they are, then to that degree we will suffer.
Teneji nongzang, teni kanang yang dachi ngarang zoba, ta dera tamchi ta kadang siyaba nangying. Ji rangying chadang de rangsanba de kasik, ji mebada. Teneji ina rangying tamchi chanyam zoba ji tongba ina, ngarang zoba tamchi
차장.
내에서도 탐지를 가지 가서 라인 되면 받아지 통마이나 근데 탐지를 차단 그 소라 놓고대 매가지 근데 참마나 근데 말아서 잠바다 세바다 라인 기다지 가서 참마 해선데 되게 되는 가서 야체를 로고요 근데 진짜 근데 말아서 그 배나 선바대야 장교지 선바대라야 장도야 되다 아니 대나 얘기 지금 말아서 다 장교지 선라서 공백 값을 얘네 빠지라서 받아서 탐지양 얘네 말아서 문제가 맞지 얘네 탐지지 남도 챕터야 내용을 내 손다 말해가서 내 손다 다 빼는 거라서 그 요르더니 장고라서 칸데지나 대탐지나 빼는 여진 야서에 있는 지반 나양 근데 내가 내밤에다 다다 야고에 봐 나양 이게 맞죠 내가 내생마다 근데 내가 얘기 찍다 자기의 매번 년번 주고는 이제 생기면서 봐 예수
So because of this, everything, all objects, everything that appears, all phenomena, all sensory perceptions, it's actually quite similar to what we were speaking of in our last class. In their nature, recognizing that the very nature of phenomena, of objects, is that they're not truly independently existent as they appear. That by recognizing this, then we can give rise to a state of equanimity. Our attachment and aversion doesn't arise as much towards any given objects. When we're recognizing that they're not truly existent, they're not static, truly existent as they are, they're malleable, transient, and permanent, then the sharpness of our attachment and aversion is lost. The intensity of the attachment and aversion diminishes. And by this happening, then naturally positive qualities begin to proliferate. When there isn't such attachment, such a perception of things as being definitively existent as they're appearing to us, then with attachment and aversion diminishing, then qualities like love and compassion, more of a vast mindset connected to the welfare of others, an altruistic mindset connected to others can naturally develop, spring up. One's bodhicitta, precious mind of enlightenment, and one's kind heart develop more and more naturally by this. When meditating and focusing on one's meditation and the development and cultivation of bodhicitta, then perceiving things in this way, not clinging to their true existence, accepting their malleability, then negative circumstances and obstacles won't tend to come up. And even if they do come up, one will more easily be able to know exactly how to take them as the path, to bring them onto their path as part of their spiritual practice. Which is why we say here, regarding those objects that please your mind, know they are like rainbows in the summer season. Though they seem beautiful, or though they appear beautifully, see they are not real. By seeing that they're not real, you give up attachment and clinging to them. And thus is the practice of a bodhisattva. By perceiving things, beautiful objects, but not clinging to their true existence, recognizing that they're not truly existent as they appear, then this is the practice of a bodhisattva.
양 그래서 양 니바데와 동아리나 좀 만남 보셨다. 저는 덴버송에 아탕치 예찬 문제는 최비치 초벌다와 예세라래.
So then next we have the appearances of objects that we do not like, do not long for. Verse number 24, all suffering is like the death of your child in a dream. To take such delusive appearances as true, how exhausting. Therefore, whenever you encounter unpleasant circumstances, to see them as delusions is the practice of a bodhisattva.
다양 말한 쪽에 다 문제가 지금 왔어요. 문제가 다지 개념이 있는데 아제이나래가 동가라 강을 너무 쟁아서 다 종요하다 빼고 만들었지. 문제가 강인다고 지. 종마이나 아서다. 종요하다 가서 나 초바지. 다 대탐제라 얘네 말한 쪽에 얘네 양도 나쁘지 않게 그래봐 양 동화를 쨍해 메테야 그 말들이 계속 삼니 나쁘야고 지자바이나 얘네 가려워서 나나 코난 즈마 생기고 코난 즈마 생기고 콘지
Resentment.
Yeah,
resentment. So things we do not wish to meet with, circumstances, objects we wish to avoid, obstacles, hindrances, negative circumstances, negative situations arising, suffering, problems, conflict, difficulties, all the myriad different varieties of things that we do not want to meet with, that we do meet with. All of these various different forms of suffering, circumstances, things we try to avoid, it's certain that we will meet with them in all their variety. So when such situations happen, things befall us, then often what we tend to do is we again and again revisit those things. In fact, we kind of take very good care of them. We hold on to them. Or somebody has done us wrong. Somebody did something bad to us, brought about some negative circumstance to us. And we really, hold on to them well. We take care of them. We keep them in our mind. And doing that, revisiting it again and again, takes the negative circumstance and breeds resentment in our minds.
내릴 때는 나한테 풍조대 체든로 시야당도 망도야 배우는 거였어.
Living in this way, then based on that, the anger, the rage, and aversion within our own minds develops, proliferates more and more, increases more and more.
뭐다 대나기 많은 배워다 냠도 얘네 말한 쪽에 내 나보대 많은 배 쏘는데 용든로 려양 못대가 도든로 세명 못지바 도든로 얘네 말한 쪽에 아제더니 내양 많은로 세양 손으로 뭔가 되니 얘기도 왔어.
So as our anger increases, as we nurture our resentments and our anger and hostility increase based on that more and more, then our negative actions, our black karma, our negative karma increases more and more. Our merit decreases. Our physical well-being suffers. The state of our mind suffers. Our happiness is diminished. Our depression, negative states of mind are increasing. Our likelihood of falling ill increases. Sickness increases. Our lifespan decreases. All of this occurs based on this.
얘네 아메리카노 생각 해봤으니까 도와. 얘네 대소하게 되면서 음악 알았더니 인터뷰했더니 지금 미치가 나거든. 얘네 코로나 생각 해봤는데서 다 로고도와. 얘네 코베 다 혼내봐래. 근데 보세요. 다 생각 해봤던 소던 로었더니 벌써 다 저랑 같은 또 가래 줘서 깨자 티티티. 근데 코랑은 다 대피했더니 코랑이 생명. 근데 코다 하마더니 코다 내게 잡아야 나버렸어.
내게 잡아.
내게 잡아야 돼. 가래에서는 충청도 코랑 아마 그 살지 미세비 똑같이 나버렸어. 동 주로 니나양 근데 코랑 다 되게 지내지는 다가 코랑 다 내가 잡아버렸어. 근데 코랑 아마 미세비 공소지가도 아마도 미세비 똑게 안 했어.
누구 기나살래요?
아, 누구 나는 근데 다 그것도 쌤 찍거든요. 쌤이 봐서 이제 도와도 왔는데 이렇게 그 내기 전에 나서서 이 말을 근데 그래서 멤버들 아무도 없어. 근데 그 대선 얘는 대기나 저는 아미 살지 동 저런 거 놓았어. 아마도 빼면서 먹고 빼잖아. 빼고 동사했어. 나는 저기 내 보면도 가르쳐서 내가 저런 사진을 해서 사진에서 맞다. 얘네 대라고 빼먹고 얘네 막 고쳐서 빼대요서 그러봐. 제가 이거는 고쳐 그런 동안 나한테는 이거면 가르쳐서 진짜 대가래 그런 거 가르쳐들이 연구요나 고쳐 전반 침모져서 연나 다 드레스 차고 이제 연나 따라 들어오고 지금 빼는 민지가 라기 어려워. 근데 코피 은행 도도 넣어도 파마라 마 드라통 근데 코나 민지 어다 들어오지
파마 드라통네.
나다 이거 근데 다 빼서 코 들어오지 하루도 파마들 아마들 거든요 드라통 근데 코 바데기 시험에도 코 체대로 그러다 아마들 무가가 차도 봐. 내 며칠 아미 돌아다서 다 뒤바지 녀 말고 뭐 지나면 내
초라 탕소.
야 세바 되게 나와 저랑게 나사 때 아미 저저를 됐어. 근데 그 싸우다 잡고 가는 시간 저랑 또 가래 명소 가래 개고 싸우고 니만 먹고라 당당 저랑 동화 가래 줘서 뭐라 가래 줘서 근데 나한테 줘서 다 저랑 데려다 나 저랑 됐어. 근데 그러면서 다음 근데 그 손에 아마래도 다음 나도 보이면 아마래도 한 몇세 초반에 아마래도
These days in the West, we have literally mind doctors, psychologists, psychiatrists, so forth. Sometimes their methods don't seem all that perfect. Rinpoche's had some students that he's Lama Wangmo. This was not Lama Wangmo. So Rinpoche has had some interviews where some students come in and they talk about their therapists, their experiences with their psychologists. One in particular, someone comes in having an interview with Rinpoche and they've been sick for quite some time. I said, like physical, like the body's sick? What's sick? And he goes, I don't know. You know, these days in the West, you got a mental problem going on, something going on, and it manifests funny. So I don't know, they're sick, but they find a therapist and they go to a therapist to find out what's wrong with them. You get in there and they say, I'm not feeling right. And the therapist is just asking endlessly these questions. All right, what happened to you? Let's get to the bottom of this. Where did all this come from? On and on, asking. Finally, they get to what they kind of mutually decide. Oh, this is the root of the illness. This is the root of the problem. This, we found it. And so the patient in the interview says, so Rinpoche, I found it, and the root of everything that's gone wrong in my life is that when I was a young child, my mother got extremely angry at me once and beat me and threw me out of the house. And my life has been a disaster ever since. And all my sickness, ailments that are coming up now and arose from that. That's the fundamental problem. It all came from that. And the doctor has given me that prescription. The root of your problems was this single incident that happened with your mother. From all of that, all these different problems have come up. So she's, the person's asking Rinpoche, so what do you think about that? Rinpoche goes, well, I don't really know. When I was a kid, man, my parents really, they beat me all the time. They threw me out of the house. I don't have what you have. So it doesn't really make sense. So you just got beat once, right? And other than that, your mom was kind of okay to you. But for me, my parents loved me. But yeah, they beat me all the time. Mom beat me, Dad beat me. So I'm not really getting it. But this that perception, and then like vindicated and reinforced by the doctor saying, yes, that's the root of the problem. Then it becomes clung on to in that way. This is what's happened to me. My mother beat me once. She's the enemy. Because of my mother, my whole life's been destroyed. My mother's destroyed my life, has led to all these ailments and problems. She's the fundamental problem, and there's this strong clinging to the truth of that. And based on that, people they perceive their own parents as enemies, and they're their true enemies, and then they work with them from that way. And through that whole process, there's no healing going on. The problem itself hasn't been pacified whatsoever. In fact, it's been increased by recognizing it in that way and identifying they did this, that's the definitive root cause that led to all this. Then it increases the animosity. And then the anger is increasing towards one's mother. There's no pacification of problems whatsoever. But all that being said, the doctor has said it. The master of the mind, the psychologist, has said, this is it. This is the root of the problem. We've delved into it to the very depths. I've asked you ad nauseum, what's your history? Where does it go back to? And we found it. Yes, that's it, sort of thing. Yeah, and then based on all of that, then it becomes this vilification of the parents or of whoever it may be. That's why I'm sick. They've harmed me. They've done me such wrong. They're terrible. They've destroyed my whole life.
다 베네지스 다 간다 추능세다 말아비쳐라 다 간다 베네지스 나를 되게 지 제도 상에 지금 당에 베는 나를 너가 내도 상나 이거 공로돼야 패로 그랬어 봐봐 뭐가 와대 대나기 셈비 얘네 지금 뭐가 와대나 내버 손나 뭐가 와대 뭐도 조금 말해 이 치게도 그래 그래 봐 얘네 코로나 시 다 저런 뭐만 가리는 거야. 대파 지혜고 그래요. 저랑 하 공매 다다 양절 뒤 저랑 야 장고 접도. 얘나야 드라직 때문에 대양 저랑 탄. 얘네 양도 고 아마데 뭐만이 다 가래 누가 강가야 되는 거다. 되게 되는 거야. 뭐만 지지 발들이 따지게
대체송당대
다 지내라고 이런 거라. 제장가 저랑 같은 다 이게 때문에 체도 droog래. 도도 droog래 와. 와도 뒤처럼 매들 오면 와. 어때 방금 내삼아. 이처럼 제네 하사랬어 봐. 맞을 때는 순간 내려도 와. 왜 나한테는 천ang 내가 정말 아상체에서 와. 맞을 강한다 동할 때 양사돼. 다 동할 때는 지금 내가 좀 내가 딱 버린 진. 뒤에 동할 때 그냥 들으시는 거 아주 동할 때 동화를 되지 영통다. 세통다. 니나가 가서 동화는 나도 물론 보셨다. 빼야고도. 물론 그 보셨다. 물론 가서 나가서 동화 세르기 이거로 내가 보고 싶어. 니나요? 물론 나 동화 물론서 보고 싶어서. 내가 나 저기는 산이 돼서 며칠 봐 줘라. 나는 보고 싶어서 물론 산이 되는 때서 며칠 봐. 이내양 될 내버송고 말. 내버송고면서 이 마음과 제발 그냥 제가 봐. 대한테 말아서랑 동할라 속을 따오듯이 담겠잖아. 대나기 하는 빼놨다. 물었나. 샤워 따블길 야야나. 아니, 뒤에 맞춰라 드네 지 아니. 나봐 침보지 제 두고요 말해. 양 뒤에 맞춰봐. 참잖아. 동아리 너봐 뭐지 엄마도 패도야 제스가.
So when you deal with things in that sort of way, when that type of situation happens, that type of diluted appearance, really solidifying some sort of past situation, suffering, negative circumstance. They did this to me. They did it to me to harm me. They did bad to me. When you solidify it like that, then all it serves to do is increase the animosity. Increase the animosity and also increase one's suffering, one's internal state of ill will and being ill at ease. When we cling to our experiences of suffering, negative circumstances, as being truly existent, we solidify them. It doesn't help anything. It just ends up making things worse. It doesn't bring us a peace of mind. It just increases the negative states of mind and animosity towards whomever we blame for the situation. So, and for this situation, I think it's just best to try to forget, to let things go, to not dwell on them again and again. Oh, my mom did that one thing to me. We need to discuss that again. And then we think a lot about that, and oh, now I remember this too. She did that to me too. And on it goes like this. When we're dwelling on things like this and revisiting them again and again, they reinforce themselves. And we find all sorts of justifications for it, and the anger just increases. The animosity increases. Negative states of mind increases. It just gets worse naturally. So I told this person too, I said, I think maybe it's just best if you forget about all that. Like, let all that go. Maybe that's what you should do. Like our text here is saying, those who, all suffering is like the death of your child in a dream. To take such delusive appearances as true, how exhausting. It's like spot on. To really solidify and perceive as truly existent and solidify our experiences of suffering, to think of them as being permanent, that we can't get past them, can't let them go, is exhausting. To hang on to them like that, to care for them, keep them around us like that. So this analogy here to perceive all suffering, just like the death of your child in a dream, really is perfect. Perceiving every negative circumstance, experience of suffering as just like having a bad dream. A child dies in a dream. When you're dreaming, you perceive them, they die, there's some experience of suffering, and then you wake up and you immediately know that it wasn't true. It didn't actually happen. If a child dies in a dream, you might still be bummed out about it for a day or two. It might affect how you are for a day or so, but there will never be the sense of that's true and solid and actually happened. It's real. That's really what we need. Perceiving every situation as being dreamlike in nature. It's not truly existent. Whatever suffering arises is dreamlike, malleable, illusory. If you perceive things in that way, then there can be no real big suffering, no big harm that comes about from such a situation. Not only that, but situations of suffering, difficult situations, may be of no harm at all, and in the end they may actually be quite beneficial.
다 왜는 말하는 것도 차이지 않아? 아마 눈에도 다 가해요 말이야. 아마 그 눈에도 다 가해요 말이야. 지안하게 썬하는 거 그죠? 카메라 통해와 가랬어요. 가래 놓고 딴 거요. 딱
They're saved.
사이도 면다게
That's
내가 츠존으로 들어갔을 만다 츠존은 되네 고소 가르사는 면다게 없는 되네 메드서 간다 고소 봐 대한민국 가서 뭐 통사로 그 대단 가서 뺐더니 다 뭐가 와다 잘하더라고 이내야 등산 가서 계속 그러고 상황은 가서 다 녀바 참도 빼는 가서 내가 지 다른 가서 하는 대소 단계야 초 하는 다 뭐는 나만라고 이제 도로와 이내야 대소 그 다지 가서 지 안에 다다나 대저보게 안에 뭐남이 내가 가래나 장능이는 저 현능이는 저 이거는 야, 대소 단계나 나한테는 직다 뺏겨서 삶 마대와다 요바 용혼미도 가야 용혼미도 치기를 얘는 디라고 변했다 말한서는 그치 내가 다 해야 돼 삼삼나 대소 그 변은 말한서는 해 통을 원했어 봐 얘는 나도 랑기 강을지 냥바 마냐나 맞아야 가와대 조금도 가와 농가를 때 마냐나 가와대 조금도 소금이 없는 왔어. 빼나 다 나란서 어디도 값어. 나서다 뽑을 값어. 카라 사지 매봐. 얘네 빼 미습은 양을 봐. 하나님들이 다 빼기서 나란서 때려고 제도 값어. 나서는 뽑을 쪽 내요 그래. 뽑을 내려고 그래. 아마. 내 카라 사요 말아. 근데 안에 잡아 떼서 주지더니 나란서 그때 다 이마지 가서 톱반대 운동은 다 맞대서 되네 거저 맞대지 되네 정보가 약적으로 통보지를 딱 그래 야 가르쳐서 보고 좀 살고로 세네 산이가도 지금 또 해요 말아 그냥 가서 보고 también 와지네 집 가서 야 로드니 야 꼬마 야 화로니 말네 그래 진짜 가서 야 보고 가시기 좀 아마는 꼬마 없었어요 그래 가르쳐서는 도스케지는 가서 가서기 정어야 되네 빼는 안 하는 리런 로 이마를 짜다 되네 다 칼라스기 리드는 처마들 먹어요라 나 때려고 되네 다 기가리 신가들은 것도 조여들은 요요만 요지야 요만 근데 다 잠들면 다 되네 용도 값을 되네 뒤노야 됐다 되네 제제네 나서 처마지야 그지 요래 대한테 등상 알아서 다 보게 됐어 다 빼는 가서 이제 때려 거저 다 빼는 있어 가려서 나한테 고구매스 나한테 싸구매스 나한테 면스 근데 거저 미래를 가려고 쓰는 저거도 나도 거저 가와 또 가면도 나 거저 다다 가라서도 나 빼다고 좋아지고요 가려서는 나 뭐만 누구 녀석 나 뒤에 맞네 뒤가 지금 뭐가 맞지 이네요 거저 다다 가려서나 가제세나 가래고네요. 여러분, 쓰는 침벌도 와. 침벌에도 와. 말하는 예수이라는 동이네요. 대가 때니 호접 대설 때는 마세마데 가도. 말하는 것만 들여서 뒤마 동아가 대꾸를 그거야 가면도 그만 좀 가라. 너 살성 나서 들리지 그래도. 빼나 들리지는 가되이네가 들리지 운도 값을 다 빼는 거는 그래서 값을 고생 용으로 가서 이제는 나한테 가서 또 만들어 또 왔지거든. 그래서 뭐니 고소 쓰는 점으로도 빼는 나서야 나서 막 카드래 나머지 종료와 쌍거도 쌍도 때가 세마데 뭐마데 막 동하게 제거면 고소라야 또 왔지. 나랑라야 되지 제거요 봐. 근데 이제 참참아 동하르서 연애야 다고 자다음이라 와줘라. 동하르 다고 자나 분명히 차이다. 동하르 야 그저 예다다나 그것도 작아도 와. 너한테 살려봐. 때때는 그 가서 나고 이제 대대바지 뭐 이제 가래는 뒤쟁에다가 공부하라. 때는 가서 가지. 이다 단다요 만. 무엇이지?
For example, I've never had an issue with the beatings I had from my mom beating me. That was never a problem. For me, the tough stuff came up when I was in prison for 9 years by the Chinese, where that was a suffering. We didn't like what we saw in there. We saw all sorts of things. We saw exactly how to kill people, how people were executed. It wasn't a quick thing. People weren't just shot. There was a whole procedure to this. We witnessed that many times. How people were executed, how they were beaten, how they were mistreated. All of that we saw. And yes, of course, we didn't like it. But it hasn't made us crazy. We haven't lost our minds from it. Really, I remember it all and perceive it all as being just like a dream, as being advised here. All of that really, truly is just like a dream. Thinking of it just as a dream, then there's no real strong anger or negativity, experience of suffering that arises based on it. And without that, then there's, I'm not going crazy. I'm not preserving it, protecting those experiences. They're recognized to be just like a dream, as they truly are. They came, they happened, and they're gone. Then in that way, it doesn't plague my mind. So the point here is point to get across is how such situations, experiences of suffering or getting things you don't like can be helpful, can serve a purpose, can become beneficial. Also, for example, when I was a child, at times there were days where we had no food. And I had 6 or 7 of us, seven siblings living in the house together. And there wasn't much food a lot of the time. We would be quite hungry. We didn't want to be hungry, but I don't remember it as some deep experience of suffering. There just wasn't enough food around. Sometimes Mom would come around and give us a little bit of tsampa or a little bit of tukpa, and we'd be able to eat. And then all the food in the house where we lived was stashed away, stashed really up high so that none of the kids could get to it. Sometimes we'd scheme together and we'd get some buddies together and we'd go try to steal that little bit of tsampa. And we'd do that, and some other sibling would see us, and then they'd go run to Mom and tell on us. But that was the situation. We lived out, in a nomad area. It was we would go hiking, climbing up into the mountainsides to collect vegetables and grass and stuff just to eat. There wasn't a supermarket. It was, very limited what we were eating. So these days I see kids, children, it's quite different. They have anything you could possibly imagine that you'd want to eat. Not only do we have all this variety for kids to eat, but they don't want any of it. You end up having to make a single meal for each child. And even when you do that, they don't really like it. Everybody needs their own thing. They still aren't satisfied. And for me, back then, we'd be, nearly starving. And I don't really think of it in this negative experience of suffering, but based on that situation, then now when I see the abundance of food, then I can rejoice in that. It makes me happy to see that. And I perceive it as being the merit of children, of people these days, to have such abundance of food. How they experience it, that's besides the point for me. Based on my own experience of being without as a child, now I delight in seeing this, recognize it as merit, rejoice in seeing that. So that's an example. And then basically the point is that with suffering, experiences of suffering, if you guard them and keep them, take care of your experiences of suffering, revisit them again and again, then that is what makes you crazy. That's what plagues the mind. That's what increases one's suffering. If you don't do that, if you take experiences as they come and perceive them as in their dreamlike nature, whatever suffering there is that happens, then when it's not guarded in that way and solidified in that way, then it can become a cause for various different beneficial outcomes like this. So instead of thinking, always like ruminating, this happened to me and that happened to me and they did this thing to me, I had to experience that and go through this. Thinking in that way does nothing but increase hostility and negative states of mind.
몰랐어. 나 이제 인정. 아니 말한지 대탐지 가서 출변 나와는 그래. 출나는 뱀발 마소나? 말한저가 아니 그 출나는 봐. 출나이나 얘랑 말한저 배는 찍기는 말한저가 보면해. 찍기는 그래. 뱀발 마소나? 이제 말한저라 대라 현자면 출변 뱀발 마소나? 이제 말한저 대상을시 최고요. 대대 되는 말하면서 그는 때라 다 대지 대한바이 강바이 되는 동안에 얘네한다. 얘네 가서 가래는 대나 되는 가서 대지 대음성지 다 대한바는 다른 등 세면 된소나 되는 가서 강에 전부 최고. 대면은 아니 그 가서 참사는 스테이지 제압이나 때문이라고 지요. 다 지뢰라고 지요. 그래요. 되는 양 잡이라고. 되는 대서 담지 강원들 되는 알아서 그 냠는 게 터나 농가를 대양 아주 참참게는 게 싸먹어요. 농가를 때 개체만도 약과를 줬잖아. 와서 되는 농가를 매나 마요나 얘네 아주 간레스 제제를 빼나 되는 nem종 제거 요래 민계 제거를 했다래 갖고 여자래. 제가 아주 농가를 이어봐라 빼니 얘네 말하는 쪽에 생계는 인계양 제거. 잘봐. 농가를 매번 시발 빼니 얘네 말하는 쪽에 최담제들랑 인계sol라 양치 말하는 쪽에 있는 게 시야 내용. 아마도
중앙 랑싱 맵에 정네.
아예 말든. 배나 나랑 뭐만 가르쳐 봐. 다다 나랑 줄을 가영이 말아. 너는 나 휴지 연송선 다다 나랑 가영도. 다들 뭐만 가까이 잡아도 찍기는 뭐만 막 가시도 당고만. 찍기라 된샤샤. 나 과들이 담고는 내가 싸먹어야 땅 말어. 예, 나 가영 잡으면도. 뭐? 가영 잡으면도 다다 나랑 지금 뭐만 사와도 담지 가래 싸워야 그러잖아. 나 저거 빼나 따요. 나 저거 래. 얘네 말하는 저거 빼나 깨한다 저 담지. 나 저거 지 나 세발 빼니 대서 담지 나 저거 빼나 벌렁다고 지. 제발 빼니야 도스 제제는 되지 야와요. 되는 참사나 대서 담지 말하는 저지 되는 것이 차고요. 대대 얘네 대단하는 저 대소도 가르사 대체 문제 깨는 트레비트 초벌다 와자세 라네 얘 탐지 랑 얘기 말어 초벌바이 봐 대만 매바시 양 대는 때니 초벌바나 다도 송 대만바르 송에게 생계도 소나 인계제 인계제나 해토요래 장마 제거래, 인계 제거래, 팬도요래, 콜 팬도 지고 말하는 팬도요래. 봐봐. 뭐도스, 무슨 소리 났더니, 대답하더니, 근데 지금 가는 소리야. 다, 문제 비지는 소리야. 도스게는 지금 가는 소리야. 남자 쳐야 돼. 자세가, 예스. 근데 대답하지 계속이나, 그냥 가는 소리, 냠내 때라요. 보통으로 그래. 삼삼은 냠내라. 나도 가고 찍고 냠내 옵니다. 자기가 받아야 돼. 송도와 가르쳐. 얘네 보고도 동안 냠 맞아 왔어. 동안 냠서는 산지 잘 들었어.
상계기.
스타타도와 너한테 감지 고소 로주도와 보고 때라 보고 충청도 고소 빠질 당도와 이쪽 로주 시면
Start
Don't let him see the suffering.
Oh, yeah.
See the suffering, he will become Buddha.
뭐야? 내가 동화자리 명마 줬어.
Yes.
동화 영서는 내 산지 차로 그랬어. 동화 영마 줬어. 내가 치료를 맞지 맞지. 내가 거기서 산나무를 야세라 또 봐. 가대 되는 산지 양 동화 때 많구나. 근데 산지 도미. 제자가 근데 산지 되는 가서 치료를 해. 제비 동화 나외 동화 희외 동화 탐지 직. 아니 산지에 가르사는 인종제 인계제 냠서 땅에 산지에서 와. 그래서 산자들이 가서 농할 때 개심벌도 말해. 도시. 도시지니야 갱에 가서 조래 싸먹다는 조랑 해.
So because of this, we recognize all of this, all these appearances are deluded appearances, appearances of confusion. Whenever you encounter unpleasant circumstances, see them as delusions or confused appearances, deluded appearances. So perceiving things in this way, whatever experience of suffering that arises, recognizing it to be deluded appearance, not clinging onto things as being truly existent, not solidifying them, recognizing them as delusion, and also the arisings based on one's own karma. And if you do this, then aversion, attachment, clinging can't arise so much, won't be so strong. And without that, then they won't give you prolonged problems. It won't be a long-standing major issue, major difficulty. Then likewise, the opposite's true. If our deluded appearances, deluded perceptions, and situations that arise are perceived as being, if we solidify them, as they're stable, they're existent, they're still around, then as long as we're doing that, it will only serve to increase our problem. Perceiving things as being independently existent, truly existent, self-stable, permanent, lasting things that won't go away, can't be lost, then the situation will persist, the suffering will persist. Instead, really, when such negative circumstances come about, we can kind of just perceive them as being like a movie, like a TV show, just like a dream or like a TV show. Perceiving them in this way, then they become part of our spiritual training, part of our practice, and they won't increase our negative states of mind, our experiences of suffering. So sometimes I think that suffering really is crucial, extremely important. That suffering is necessary, vital for our progress along the path. Really, it's having suffering that we develop qualities along the path. In particular, renunciation, compassion can't arise if we don't have direct experiences of suffering. It's based on our suffering, because of suffering, that we can have compassion, recognize the situation of other sentient beings and give rise to the most noble of qualities, compassion. And also when we train in this way to recognize the nature of our own negative circumstances, experiences of suffering, that suffering is impermanent, not truly established, then through that recognition, then it facilitates our recognition of perceiving all phenomena, all experiences being not truly established, not truly existent, to begin to be able to recognize the true nature of reality of phenomena. The experiences that we've had of suffering, whatever situations, experiences we've had, they're not true, and we see that now because they're no longer there. We've experienced them, my own experiences, negative circumstances, they're gone now. Before I had some scars on my arms, I think from where they tied me together, bound me, I had these scars. can't even find those now, and they're gone. But those are just signs of things that were experienced in the past. Dreamlike experiences of suffering that doesn't truly exist, that came about based on karmic circumstances. It was my karmic debt to be paid, that are now gone. I'm fine now. I'm happy, doing well. Everything that's happened before is completely gone now. It's no longer there. And it arose in those circumstances based on our own karma. Karma that is now exhausted, completed. The debt's been paid. If we perceive things in that way, then we're practicing as the text is prescribing here. Whenever you encounter unpleasant circumstances, see them as delusions. This is the practice of a bodhisattva. To perceive things as delusions, only appearing to be truly existent. But to recognize that they're not actually there, not actually existent. They're dreamlike, they're malleable, they're gone, they're not truly established. Or you go the way of ordinary sentient beings, perceiving things as being actually existent and then experiencing what comes from that. But from recognizing it in this way, then based on our experiences, then towards sentient beings, all these positive qualities come about. Compassion, love, the sense to help others, and these qualities coming about then is not just beneficial for others, but benefits us directly on our path. So mainly here talking about the how to take undesired circumstances as the path, our instruction on exactly how to do that. And when we think about it, negative circumstances, experiences of suffering, really are an enhancement practice to whatever spiritual training we're engaging in. They enhance whatever our practice is at the time. So again, when I think about suffering, it really is crucial, important, necessary for our spiritual development. Just like we see in the life story of the Buddha. The Buddha, when he was Prince Siddhartha, his father, the king, said, "Do not let him see or do not let him experience suffering. If he does, he'll become Buddha." It's like, right? Huh? Dramseki. Oh, that's good. So it wasn't a king that said that. It was the Brahmin astrologer that came consulting the stars. The expert astrologer, Brahmin, that came and reported to the king, Siddhartha's father, if he experiences suffering, he'll become Buddha. So it's like right there, through the power of suffering, the experience of suffering catalyzes, facilitates one progress along the path. It did for the Buddha. Don't let him experience suffering, or else he'll become enlightened based on that. Keep him inside the palace walls, guard him well. Don't let him outside to see suffering and experience suffering. Eventually, he did escape, and he witnessed suffering of human beings, birth, old age, sickness, and death. And based on that experience, was able to give rise to renunciation, compassion. And based on that, progressed in the spiritual training, attaining enlightenment, Buddhahood. So, in brief, experience of suffering catalyzes our practice and also is impermanent, not truly established. Understanding this is how to take negative circumstances on the path in this context. And in essence, if we're able to perceive negative situations, difficult situations as allies, as friends in our spiritual practice, then they are.
That is the song. That is my. I mean, that's all. Oh, I said that. So that is Tulku Sang-ngag. Labja. That's all to be looked at so much. In it, I got to do a log at the that is not better. Hard to chiba. And what is it? Hard to chiba. 어디가 나한테는 찍겠다. 당고대 때문에 바로 치 봐. 조를 봐. 당고대 놓는 거 발신 쭉 이거.
Lapchang nagin nangne chi Parchen Dru. Our main focus again is the particular precepts or trainings in bodhicitta. So coming up we have 5 particular precepts for training in bodhicitta. The first of which is the training in the 6 paramitas. It's the first of the 5 precepts or 5 trainings in bodhicitta that are coming up.
네. 나서 때는 딱 좋아요나.
Where did they go?
그렇지. 그렇지, 잘. 그렇지.
Still recording. People are still on. I don't see them.
Keeps going off.
거기다가
It's
Yeah,
I
Rangsingi.
keep clicking it and then it keeps going. So, don't see it.
설치하면서 거기도 있어요.
거기도? 거기도?
처음에도
어.
내가 제거도 없어. 거기도.
응. 오케이. 지금.
How
아직
do you know that
30초.
it's? How do you know that it's?
Alright, we'll stop for now.
I think
거기도 없어요.
거기도?
if any,
They can see us, they say.
they can see us.
Yeah.
We can't see them.
Yeah, we just have our camera off. So.
And
Okay.
yet it's.
They see, yeah, they see us, they hear us.
Hi.
Look at my nose.
I'm sorry.
나서 좋아요. 왜?
Any questions?
그거는 들어갑니다.
Two team인데.
입니다.
team인데.
저기 넣었어.
Okay. It is working. We see you.
저랑 나 통도 해.
Struggling with seeing things as delusion. Oh, that's a good one. I'm struggling with how to work with seeing things as delusion in our current political environment.
나 지나서 나 통은 늘 했어. 나는 지나서 통만 나랑 통 와서 제발 믿으세요.
If you guys see me, that's fine. That'll suffice. You know, it's I don't need to see me seeing you, which is what we usually see. We don't need to do that. You guys can see me, that's fine. Can we work on recognizing the illusory nature of things while simultaneously being politically active? Or is the better approach to focus more on our practice? Got it? Donald Trump people that too. Things are not chopstick metal. Dubo. The Milan, Juma 19 Congress, Tongiore, Kangin, the Kalakagore, Kangin, Dengraki, Chito, chopstick metal, the Drew Taviakla, Chegore.
나한테 끼트는 게 내, 끼트는 게 내가 돼요. 끼트는 게 내 생각들에. 끼트는 게 내 생각도 눈에 끼트는 게 내래. 그래봐. 가려서 나 너나 좀 코란 찍고야 나니. 네, 막 기압니 용. 네 알아서 밑에서 세 코란 거 쳐봐서. 내가 오바마에서 간가 세. 네 코란 매다 코란 내요 말해. 아메리카기 미게 되는 강가가 되는 고속가서 코란을 되는 我说弄光特别的，知道吧？现在被剧透个来了，俺做忙去吧，第一趟的搞点通过的时候呢，就等然后就什么当一个没得忙过要把它通过了，搞点全那个这个呢，全对哪里嘛通过了吧？可做的呢，朗动，平常他得多，别人他可是多那唱歌做得多，可做个他，俺这第三句生命中就写个多。투문 그 싸움 피해기도 얘가 나도 얘가 그러나 참나 딱 봐도 모험이도 아메리카 말 대라고 지내는데 미 아메리카는 망치슈지 여가도 쓰고 내말에 나서 가게 되는 도나처럼 로가 제금이나 나서 드네 뒤나니 막 통한 거래 그래봐 얘 싸움 땅에 그래봐 근데 다 도스 걔네들이 가서 뒤나는 가세 가서 초니 지나 그냥 두고요 말에 근데 찍어 차로요 이 기튼 짓서는 내 싸움이야 그 싸움이었어
기증이 내일.
기튼 그 내일 봐 기튼 그 내생에 너네 내다 기튼 그 내긴 잡을 겨투고 그래 이 책을 내긴 잡을 짜리 겨투고 말해 기튼 지 써남기 기튼 그 써남이 야그로도 가서 잡을 내 참아 야본으로 두고 그래 기튼 그 써남 많이 빠디 마늘로도 또 보여주고요 왜냐 아메리카라고 지기나 가다당하라도 규통게 내게도 차고요 그래 네가 하고 그래 이제는 때 하고도 로나ल्드 트럼프 파마대로지 맞아 소속을 쳤대는 야고여서 그랬어 밑에서 가르치는 들이지 놓고요 그래 가르치는 데지요 대양 다 뒤집고 대 상무 땅바에 대했더니 로나ल्드 트럼프 더나리 희어요 봐 근데들이 제가 인생 니라 망치와 가위야 봐 로나ल्드 트럼프 껴봤더니 망치와 가위야 봐 세고 타버렸어 내가 와서 제가 가위야 말이지
나저 제야
어야 딱지는 막 더한 거야 가서 막 더한 애야 그래
나저 랑기랑란 말도
막 더한지니 다 가르쳐는 코 두께 아래 코 매봐서 그거도 코 치에 그거도 생기도 대 맞이를 때 가서 끼트는지 레대 가서 되는 소주자 칼빈스는 잡고 그래 봐 되는 거라서 자라는 거지 너무 들으지 짜요는 봐 딱고 지고 도스케네 요봐 딱 데이터로 빼듯이 되네 데이터를 찍 타고 있잖아 답변해서 내가 가고요 내가 나고요나 데이터를 찍 나고 있잖아 내가 데이터 마 지도 줘야도 뭐 대저 버려 봐
Lord would help if I missed something. So Rinpoche says that really the main answer to understand Donald Trump is collective karma. We've elected Donald Trump based on collective karma. It's not that Donald Trump waged some individual war where he took his gun to the White House and pointed it at Obama and took over. He was elected. We elected him. This country elected him. There's like a collective responsibility in that. People that saw him saw how he thought, how he talked, what his plans are. Seeing that, his self-centeredness, we need to do things, everything is to accomplish like one's own needs. All that egocentricity, focused on oneself, one's own well-being, just America, just us. That is what was voted for. That's like a collective karmic action that America engaged in. Truly is the opposite of how Bodhisattvas are taught to act. Conduct of Bodhisattvas, the mindset's different. It's take care of yourself and focused on your connection to others and the welfare of others and all beings. But in this day and age, for us in America, most people apparently were not like that. So, what to do? we need to look at ourselves deeply about this. Maybe not focus so much on Donald Trump, but look at our society, look at ourselves and how this can be changed, how this momentum or that collective karmic action of a society can be transformed, and work on doing that by looking in our own selves, in our own communities, areas, on how to transform this, change the collective merit, the collective actions of society. Where at this point, that isn't the case. We've shown that the collective actions, the collective karma and merit of America is in line with Donald Trump. That Donald Trump spoke up on what his plans are, and that people demonstrated they liked that by voting for him. We've demonstrated what the majority collective karma and merit of America is in this way. So we need to think about how to change that, how to change society, the collective actions of society, and work in that way. Just like a scale, where you have a scale and black pebbles over here, white ones over here, a lot of black ones over here, it tips the scale. So we need to put things on the other side and tip it back the other way. So really the main understanding to be had by Donald Trump is the recognition that it's our own collective karma that has put him there. It's not the case that the world is transformed by a single person and a single event. Really, it's collective actions and collective karma that have the power to completely transform the situation of the world, that really carry the momentum and power to make massive changes. So focusing on that is where we should be putting our attention.
그래서 지키는 저도 아빠를 말했어.
여기에서.
지키는 저도 아빠를 말했어.
Maybe this this probably didn't hit your minds perfectly or something. Doesn't like sit well with you, maybe.
Yeah.
Donald Trump saying it, Diggity?
응? 너나 좀 쓰면 그냥 배 통만 해. 이 도널드 트럼프 찍기 도달하면 봐. 미 드네 차먹고 그 도나 차고.
It's a silence.
이 도널드 트럼프 찍기 차고요 말. 이 도널드 트럼프 찍기 도달하면 참사들이 뭐도 왜냐면 좀 있더니 안 갔더니 뭐 좀 그렇게 효과는 상황 초로가 자꾸 지는 상황 초도가
상문제.
네, 가르쳐.
Genocide?
Coup, yeah.
Coup? Yeah.
대저 어찌 이나고 미식 본거도 수정을 와야. 대 말해 봐. 이 아메리카 코란이 껴를 와. 커져 틈은 그 싸움. 나가 망치고 싸움. 땡 처음이야. 싸움 가래 딴 거 염에 찍 처음이야. 내가 야고 매가게 처음이야. 되래. 미치기 더래 미치기 저 찍고 따지지 지요 말을 되면 싸움. 내 미치기 되었다네. 맞죠? 미 망치하게 싸움 어디 집 가족 가는 로그는 세번에 어디 통이야. 되래.
So I said, so killing Donald Trump wouldn't. Of course not. No, it wouldn't be a benefit at all to everybody on his side. Hundreds of thousands, millions of people. I mean, sometimes you have a government taken over in a coup, right? And in those types of situations, and yeah, maybe you can pinpoint it down to one minister, one small little group that's responsible. But for us, we elected the guy. So we definitely can't be, or I don't see it at all as being the fault of one single person. He was elected. America voted him in. So really it's showing the bad mindset of America collectively. It's not just the fault of one single person. It's a bad mindset that pervades, infects, America.
이 집보라미가 왔어. 내가 유럽 나는 양 다 유럽 초반은 인기 고소 말 타서 내 대한 기과 통일해. 인기가 농가는 모르지 테니 유럽 기존은 인기 말 타서
Brexit.
야.
And this mindset's not just here either. We see it in Europe too. Brexit, Britain, deciding to leave the European Union. I really see that as being quite the same mindset, the same negative thinking, evil mindset.
다 반성계를 나눠 좀 되지도 않아. 잠벌인데 투문 돌기 싸움 당했는데 쇼킹을 차요 봐. 지금 다 시초가 좀 잠벌인 투문 다 반성계는 되기 때에서 가서 용도만도 많은 인사다 야 아무 하면 루스로 된 파지 화로를 봐. 뭐만 잠벌인 게 지금 막 잡는 데는 데려왔더니 지금 소소그 지금 계약이 여러분 네 나랑 좀 잠벌랭이 되서다 싸먹은 줄도 댄스 노초지를 놓게 봐 통도 나랑 싸먹다나 노초지 뒤라고 얘기한다 그만 코를 찍고요 다다다 양이 추워지는 게 코도 약간 망고구나 그래도 뭔데 아메리카 찍어야 되는 얘도 망고 너무 참
So for a while, the world was moving towards more harmony, working together. Countries in the world as a global communities seemed to be coming together. The perspectives and a more universal mindset, more countries were focused on what was beneficial, what was harmonious and for the globe. But thinking in that way, that for some period, the world moving more in that direction, and various different problems did still arise, and from those conflicts or problems arising, then really it seems we've fallen back into very old ways of thinking, where you protect, and each country protects its own individual needs and whatever it's after. You fight wars in order to do that, to protect your own country, your own nation, your own interests. And really witnessing this, seeing this, it seems that the mindset and also the conduct, the actions of the global community are really going in a negative direction in this way. And it's definitely not just in America. We see this today in many, many countries.
잠벌레가 가르쳤다. 반성계가 작교반에 흉치고 휴시 차이다. 근데 저기들은 잠벌레가 이거랑 뭐도 미가면 생각이 좋고. 근데 다다들은 자와를 뭐 저기 이 등호르왕 오늘에 대한 몸이 있어도 내가 등호르왕은 까먹게 만고. 너네 가르쳤으면 지난주 등호르왕의 용은 더 낫지 그래. 민상의 샘도 지원보래. 샘대 빼는 뭐마 홍조라게는 지난주 등호르왕 파 휴산이 파는로 로니 메디치 개모갱에 메디치 찍고라고. 근데 이 삼모때 때 시간아서 얘를 찍고도 마당 거죠. 다 두스제고 송어가. 다 대라고 찍 문에 찍다 찍.
용진대도 공동.
왕신의 참아.
왕신의 참아? 네. 쌈은 유도 안 거렸어. 대 땅 톱나? 얘네 고쳐버려. 지나서 강반으로 파 놓아버리네요. 밑에 떼서 맞아 차도 와. 그렇지. 다 갈대 들라고 지금 민봄 때다 이거라. 다 들라고 지금 차로 재나. 이 너니 다 그렇지. 얘네 거기서 나무들 때 쇼크. 얘네 딜리 가래 쇼크. 맞아 탑시 대랑 그래. 맞아 콩소되기 싸와니네 나토만 맞아 샘 유도당 거 내가 때 대랑 그래. 야와는 뭐지 숭야. 맞아 소소 그 샘데 겨토. 대라고 지나 빼는 민 몸제기다 야와는 소라 민 몸제기 샘데 겨나. 민 몸이게 근데 야 코라서 그 윤이야 몸제기 닌 겨나. 근데 나랑 저 그때 싸와도 장거요. 콩소된 용도롱에 가르쳐 묻어도 돼 콩소고 유지 안에 싸워도 다단 잠벌은 유도 좀 콩소고 그래. 들어봐. 잠벌은 근데게 토네 찍다 하거나 근데 딱 나서 탑시 약효돼 나 제가서 되는데 지금어라 내 저를 뭐지 대송도 내 때를 제가도 나서 참아 쌈로도 겨나 가래 빼는 그냥 가서 레잉에 봐도 초대 용어는 줘 레 개비 초대 망도 줘나 근데 양 기튼 그 써는데 약 내가 와 가다 가서 말 쌈바 때문에 집 가르세 먹게 왜 초다 홍조고 초다 해당 거 초다 랑 답에 이제 인생이 초 뒤에 많은 로드 근데 내가 차고 김센터에
So I see in large part that the primary cause for the situation in the world, trend of terrorism, through these acts of terror and terrorist tactics, and everybody's mind has been agitated, disturbed, and from that, then a lot of this anger, negative mindset, hostility is increasing. In large part based on that. So one particular method, maybe the primary method we can use to counteract this, I heard the Dalai Lama has just offered the Kalachakra empowerments in Bodh Gaya. And during that occasion, he gave a teaching. There were over 200,000 people in attendance. He was teaching them, and he said, there's one singular purpose that I have for all of you coming here, and that's to transform your mindsets, to change your minds. The 200,000 of you that came here, and you came here with some kind of hostility, anger in your mind, and from receiving this, you can leave this series of empowerments with your minds transformed. Having the anger been pacified, hostility pacified, leaving here with a peaceful mindset, leaving here happier, then that becomes a powerful, effectual method. If you leave here in that way, that you 200,000 leave here having accomplished something, engaged in something that's taken whatever negative states of mind, and you've left here better off, happier, being more at ease, then you take that home with you. Then your family sees you, and they sees that you've changed. And your change in mindset, your more kind heart and peaceful affect, has a direct impact on them, directly impacting them, and then it becomes infectious. That really needs to be our skillful method. Our means is transforming our mind away from hostility, anger. And this is our individual responsibility to do this. This is exactly what the Dalai Lama prescribed, and I agree with it. This is the main thing to be engaged in, the main method for us. If 100,000 people can be impacted, their minds can be transformed, changed, become kinder, then that has a direct impact. And there's 200,000, and so on, just like this. Really, I see that the primary problem in the world today is the hostility in people's minds, whatever that hostility may be, and that the supreme method to deal with this is to transform our own minds, exactly how the Dalai Lama prescribed. If we don't, by doing that, then whatever negative actions, whatever negative thoughts we have will naturally decrease. Positive actions, positive karma increase, and by doing that, then the collective merit of us as a society is increasing, simply by doing that. But instead, if we remain hostile towards whatever, there's hostility, anger, clinging, attachment to our own side. As long as those are increasing, then the situation of the world is getting worse and worse. That's the fundamental reason for the current trend in the world.
That's all.
Son of the
At this very moment, for the permission of the nations of this earth, may not even the names disease, famine, war, and suffering be heard, but rather may pure conduct, merit, wealth, and prosperity increase, and may supreme good fortune and well-being always arise. Page 11. In all my lifetimes, may I meet the perfectly pure spiritual teachers, and remaining inseparable, may I utilize the glorious Dharma, supremely perfecting all qualities and talents on the stages and paths. May I implicitly achieve the state of the glorious Dharma.
That's all. Good night.
Good night.